Hello, and welcome back to Exploring Wexveres, Dracos Edition. Alright, welcome to episode 2 of Exploring Wexveres. Firstly, I know it's been a while since we've had an episode, but life gets in the way and we are starting back fresh with a bit of a catch-up episode, as the party have now moved on from Hell, but we are going back to cover the one who gave them their freedom, Dracos, my Lord of Hell. Throughout the video, I'm going to be explaining his backstory, his personality, and various things about him, and then explaining how you can build your own Lord of Hell and what that might look like. I also want to give a shout out to Magic Madhouse as a thank you for the minis and for giving me a bit of a discount. We have a good relationship and I'm an affiliate of theirs, so if you ever want any good minis and some rare ones and for reasonable prices too, click the link down below for a really good browsing experience. I always go on there and I'm like, I'm not going to spend any money, I'm just going to browse, and then I'm like, I can afford it. So yeah, check it out, and that's where you can get some minis just like this one. Now this mini is actually Orcus, Demon Lord of Undeath is his name, but in my land he is Dracos. It's awesome, love him. I'll get him up close for you so you can kind of see. He's got some really cool like bat wings, he's pretty fat. He's got a really cool like marking down here. He's got a staff, he's got some goat horns. He looks like a demon lord, and I just saw him and I knew that was going to be my god of hell. So yeah, he's awesome. So a little bit about Dracos, and kind of going into who my Lord of Hell is. So, Dracos. Well, his domain is officially Death and the Afterlife, and he is the Lord of Hell. His pronunciation is, as I've been saying it, Dra and Kos. He is lawful evil alignment. His sigil that goes around on like demons like armor and branding is a horned skull. And his champions are the archdemons Viltha and Ark, who we talked about in the last video, which if you haven't watched, it pairs very nicely with this one. So a little bit about his biography. So when managing an afterlife like the Hell, only the strictest, strongest, and most brutal god will do, and Dracos holds these titles happily. This dude is very fearsome, he is ruthless, he's merciless, he's all the things that you would think a demon should be. He rules Hell and its denizens with a pure iron fist, ensuring those who are without an afterlife are not sent to the astral sea and lost souls are collected. So what this means is anyone who doesn't pray or worship a god religiously doesn't go to an afterlife. They instead, they're considered lost souls, voids, and if they reach the astral sea, they are forever lost, lost to wander, almost irrecoverable, basically. And his goal is to stop that from happening. Seems quite noble, but if that's the case, you do not want to be a soul in hell either. You could be turned into a soul orb, where it takes 10,000 souls to make a soul orb, and there's hundreds of them, so you can kind of do the math. And effectively, soul orbs are Hell's power stations. They're really messed up kind of energy sources. And if your soul is brought to Hell, it's the goal of the demons to get you into one. Typically the kobolds, that's what they will go around and do. Dracos believes in uniting the afterlives, ensuring everyone pays for their choices. And this is the idea that kind of resonates with him and drives him forward. He believes that everyone shouldn't get to go to a certain afterlife just because they believe in a god. So Atrilla's subjects shouldn't get to go to Atrilla's afterlife. There will be a video explaining all the afterlives and things at some point when it becomes relevant. But yeah, he believes in more that hell should just be the afterlife for everyone. Once you're dead, you may as well be turned into something useful. He does not care much about or frequent the overworld. He doesn't see the point in it. He rarely sanctions for any demons to go up and do any invasions or anything like this. He only goes up when he has to, and that is usually to reprimand ambitious and demons who aren't following his rule as strict as they should, which does happen, because even though he rules brutally and harshly, demons are creatures of arrogance, and they believe that they can oust the demon of hell, and that's usually due to the Ascension program, which we're going to talk about in detail soon. Gaining his say in invasion, as I said, is really tricky. But have been notable exceptions to this, and it could be a case of it's officially tricky, but deep down he's always willing for a bit of bloodshed. He is known for his directness, always speaking his mind, and never sugarcoats his word. He will tell you as it is. He will give you contracts that his word is law, and he treats that with respect. He is a very trustworthy person, albeit a bad one, but he will not betray you as such. He will be honest with you as much as he has to. However, he is a very serious, quick to anger, and not manipulative god. He doesn't see the value in lying. He wants as he kind of judges others for it, so he does live by that. He will never break the deals he makes, and for him they are pacts, they are blood oaths. He will not forsake them. As kind of instilled in demons across the world, they sometimes try and change the wording, but he doesn't seem to see the need in doing so. If he promises you something and it's part of a deal, he will honour it. He is not loose with his wording either. He will make sure that deals are specific, that each party is getting something beneficial from it, and that deals are truly deals. He doesn't see the value in conning people, like some other demons do. He does respect bravery, he respects honour, and he tries to live by that as well. Even as someone who's maybe less of a moral character, he does try and live by a code, and he does that very well. So that's a little bit about my Dracos. He's a bad dude, really. You can tell by kind of his yellow eyes, but he is also, he follows a code. He is very lawful. He's not a chaotic demon lord like you could expect some to be. I didn't want him to be that. I was like, demons making deals are huge in this game, or in my game, so I wanted that to transfer to the god of hell, and that is why I created him the way he did. So let's talk about how he ascended, and we'll explore a little bit more about the Hell's Ascension program. So ascending in Hell is different to any other domain, and thus becoming the Lord of the Death and the Afterlife is also very different compared to other domains. Demons have existed since the First Age, even if they looked entirely different. What they do look like, I don't really know at that point. That'll be a question for Luke, who's developing the First Age, but it's in my vision that they looked like a different entire race. They were very different creatures, maybe not even red at all. Demons must prove that they are the strongest, smartest, and most cunning to become Lord of Hell, and in a race that is already all of those things, it's definitely not easy to achieve that. They will be in battle with their fellow archdemons, regular demons seeking a promotion, and kobolds to achieve their goal. The kobolds aren't really much of a threat. If there is no Lord of Hell, then the plane is volatile and dangerous, with dozens of demons vying for the throne. There's no real structure or order, no one listens to each other. There are gradually, as that process goes on, strong demons will come out and they'll be leading the packs, and people tend to submit to them. Weaker demons are typically a lot more submissive and willing to kind of follow the more powerful leaders, but they are opportunists, so if their leader seems to be like the right choice one week and then they start losing, they will happily betray the others, their current leader. So there's a lot of betrayal, backstabbing. It's a very horrible. The wars for the domain can last lifetimes. Dracos was the archdemon of confinement, responsible for guarding and hunting prisoners in hell. These are the worst of the worst when it comes to demonkind, condemned to eternal damnation, usually by Dornax or the god of justice. Prisoners in hell are souls that they do not want anyone to have a chance of freeing. You would think they'd put them as a soul lord, but there, as the campaign may show, there are ways of undoing a soul lord, and there's ways of letting the souls out. By going to prison, the archdemon of confinement and all demons of hell must and are honor bound to ensure that these souls do not go anywhere. So it's a really important job being the archdemon of confinement, and the respect is placed on that. So that definitely gave the Dracos a step up, or Draco Ilishkan, as he said. Hell's prison may be the most unpleasant place on earth. The screams of the damned reach even the loudest parts of your mind, and the stench of decay overwhelms you, and that's before you meet the prisoners. The demons who guard it are hand-picked and brutal. They are some of the most powerful beings in existence. They have to be, and this is why, again, he had a real leg up in ascending. They often have weapons that can absorb and remove souls from the universe, like Vilfa's sword that we've seen in Hell. Dracos was one such demon. Having just received news of the Lord of Hell's death, he gathered his soldiers and stated his intention to have the throne, ordering all to bow before him and make a deal to back him. These became his 7 archdemons who are still in power today. He went around quickly to ensure that he had people who would be able to form his senior team, his collection of archdemons, and that was really important for him, and it proved to help him really find success. And he delivered a speech to many of the denizens of hell.
A lack of ambition and weak leadership has crippled demonkind. Together, we will rise. We will lead a regime unlike any other. We will be history, and you will swear unwavering loyalty to me, Dracos, Lord of Hell.
With that one speech, he instantly had the most powerful demons on his side. The promise of opportunity, of power. That is how you convince demons to join you. However, for him, it wasn't just archdemons. He needed to convince regular demons as well. So he would go around finding the most powerful demons, leading the largest packs, and do whatever he can to take those demons to his side. To the other archdemons who were vying for control of the throne, he began his conquest. With each and every one, he was met with combat. However, his wings and soul-stealing mace kept all away from him. He grew larger and larger, claiming each demon's soul as his. As another part of demons' life, when they claim a soul and they don't put it in the soul orb, or they don't do what they're supposed to do with it, they can sometimes deals happen, but they can sometimes basically channel that soul into themselves and make them more powerful. And as you can see by his side compared to a kobold, he definitely did that. Some say he could power a factory of soul orbs alone with his mace. Eventually, by the 6th and 7th archdemon, they all but conceded. He still slaughtered them, and their followers. By this point, he had amassed an army that the likes of which Hell had never seen, and had unified an entire new batch of archdemons to do his bidding. He didn't need them, and they'd also stood against him, which meant they were never going to be truly loyal. He knew this, and he really took it upon himself to rectify that. There was no room for disloyalty in his regime. So finally, he marched on the throne of skulls, where the most powerful demonic forces awaited him, the Revenants, the souls of the previous Hell Lords. He was unyielding in his assault, taking whole attacks that would obliterate normal demon armies, let alone one demon. He growled with each hit, and smiled, a smile that scared even ghosts. When he had slain each of the Lords of Hell and added the skull of his predecessor and opposition to the throne, he roared. The roar that signalled the end of the quickest campaign to the throne ever. Demons of all kinds left their hiding spots, left their previous armies, and came to the City King speak.
Demons of Hell, the overworld is licking their wounds at the same time as us, yet we will recover faster. The Fae have been ousted to their own plane. We can conquer them. We are an army feared throughout every age, every part of history. Every settlement on the overworld knows us. We can be whatever we wish. You will follow my command as I show you what demonic power really looks like.
With that, Dracos lifted his mace, and its screams deafened thousands and shook the world to its core. He bided his time before revealing himself again, letting the Pantheon grow in confidence as the new age began to creep in. When he finally appeared, every god felt an uneasy sense of dread. He did agree to give his power to Dornax, along every other god, when deciding to elect a god of justice, because even though he knew the value of a fearful pantheon, he swore he would kill each of them. He would unite the planes against the overworld and destroy those belonging to it. and he decided that Dornax would only be a worthy opponent and a worthy proof that he was the only god needed if he had power from everyone. However, recently the Pantheon has split, completely disregarded and disappeared. And when this happened, he knew it was time to prepare. Some say they'd never seen him so excited, as he hurried to Hell, readying for his first full-scale invasion. He cast his vote for Meteor's removal and returned to mortal kind. The final step. Then just as he was about to give the order, launch the attack, 2 mages cast a new spell on him, trapping him in stone. He had been defeated by 2 mere mortals. He never lost consciousness though, and swore that these petty mages would rue the day they invaded Hell and froze him. He will have his revenge. And that is the story of how Dracos became the Lord of Hell. I hope you enjoyed it. Apologies for the deep voice cracking. I'm still struggling to keep that, to keep that up, and that's something that I'm definitely noticing is becoming harder in my campaigns. That's my Lord of Hell, and the party have met him. They freed him now. He is out doing whatever it is gods of Hell need to do. So now let's talk about how we can get it into your campaign. Firstly, we need to know what your hell's like. Please use the previous Exploring Wexveres video for any tips on that. I'm going to kind of just assume that you've watched it, you've got your hell, and you're like, okay, what can that ruler look like? So the first thing that I found useful was look at demon kind. My demon kind are manipulative, they're cruel, they're vindictive, they're hateful. Some are mortals that are so beyond redemption that they've become demons and been recruited. Most of them, however, are just bad souls created in the lavas of Hell. So I knew that the leader of Hell couldn't be weak. They had to be really powerful and have had to have earned their place. Demons respect power. He couldn't just have been born there. He had to have claimed it. And it had to be part of tradition as well, because my demons are a very traditional group. As well as that, I wanted to think, okay, what kind of figure is imposing, and what kind of figure really highlights the evil that radiates within. And it's kind of also a bit of perception, because Dracos wants to be perceived as another god who's, following the rules, being good, ruling Hell. And ruling Hell is not a good job, is what he wants the outside perception to be. However, internally and with his demons, he's planning to show his true colours, which is to really, take over the overworld. And I think that kind of conflict is important, and it was important for the party as well to be on a good dynamic with Dracos. I want them to like him, I want them to enjoy him, and I genuinely think he's one of the better gods and kind of been ousted, because that's very common in the campaign with my gods, is that they're a pantheon where there are some really bad apples, there's some bad apples, and then there's some average apples. There's not really any good ones. And Dracos is definitely a very evil one, but he's good at getting people on his side and showing that he is, he's got some mercy, he's got some morals, and he uses his code to help do that. And that was the other thing that was really important. I knew I wanted him to be lawful, because chaos as a demon is great, and that works. Demons can be chaotic. They're not overly powerful. The more powerful up you go, they have to be lawful. Otherwise, you're just going to have ever skirmishes, and I wanted my Hell to be united. So by following this code, they had a leader and a Iron Fist typed ruler to ensure that this code is implemented by the archdemons, and then so on, so on, so on. And demons who don't follow that are problematic. And now I also didn't want him to be super involved with the overworld. The party haven't really interacted with him for in-game, outside game time now, probably 2 years or so. Besides when Vartuto recently asked for a favour. And that is because being involved in the overworld doesn't make sense in my game. The separation is there. He cares about it when he rules it, but for now he's got a job to do and he wants to still do it. And also he sees mortals as very weak. and doesn't want to get involved, and he doesn't want like a cult of Dracos or things like that. They still exist, as the same with the Triller, but he doesn't see the value in it. He would much rather just have demons to go and do his job. He's created them in his image, in his world, and he wants everywhere to be his. He's very egotistical like that. So, what are your options? Well, if you're creating a Lord of Hell, then first I'd say look at the Pantheon. What kind of characters are missing? What do you already have? And see how you can create a god that bounces off it. I did that with mine, kind of analysed my Pantheon, was like, we've got a lot of like good characters, we've got some neutral, but evil-wise we don't have many. We've got Forcash and the Trinity, but I don't want him to be a part of that. So is he a rival to the Trinity? And in this case he is. The party have had interactions where he's helping the other gods because he doesn't see the Trinity as helpful for his plans, and he doesn't like them. So, there's these dynamics, and I think the dynamics of a Pantheon, especially in my world where they're so up close, but in yours they might be far away, but it's still important. Do cults of your Lord of Hell get on with other groups? Is there cults? Is your Lord of Hell like a Lord or Lady? Is your God of Hell quite out there? Do they get involved? Do they talk to demons, or do they just hide away and wait like Vlaakith from Baldur's Gate 3? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go with a god, especially one of this types. Or do you spin it on its head completely and have a really good Lord of Hell? Like someone who is morally very good and has taken on this burden begrudgingly and doesn't really want it? Do you have a god who intends to step down? They were kind of thrust there again, kind of because they had to, and they're like, their plotline is, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go see the world, but demonkind are overrunning, and we need to do something about that. Or do you have it just be a council? Do you not have a Lord of Hell, and do you have a council of archdemons who just bicker and squabble, kind of like how my Archfey works, my Archfey system works, which we will talk about at some point. So there's lots of different ways you can go, and I think starting with your Pantheon and then going out like that. So start from a really top down and work out how this god links to other parts of your world. And when you're building that out, that's really important for all your other gods too, is they need to feel like they have an impact, but to do that you need to kind of have a clear understanding of that yourself, especially when you're telling your stories. And also, feel free to be creative with it. Like, you don't have to have any kind of god that's been done before. If you have a really cool idea that you love, it will work. Your players will like it. Your story readers, or whoever you're writing this for, will enjoy it. Don't feel like they have to be one kind of way. And I think that always makes it more interesting. And also feel like if you think a chaotic, scary, maniacal demon lord is what it needs to be, do that too. But yeah, so some advice from me is to go into, okay, how is this interacting in my world? Is it something in the background? Is it taking center stage? Is there going to be a plot point? And how do I want that to reflect in the god? The other thing to think about is, who does your god trust? Dracos trusts his archdemon team. He always has. He instilled them. He needs them. He's very brutal with them because he can't have them knowing that he needs them. But he trusts them because he knows he's got the fear level there, or he's got the relationship with them. And maybe that will be his undoing, or are the archdemons actually super loyal to him and that's why he's done so successful? So you need to think, okay, who is this god trusting and how can I incorporate them? Because your party, if they're like level 5 or whatever, may not interact with the god of hell themselves, but they could have really interacted with one of his cabinet or council. So that's always an interesting kind of dynamic, and you can really use them to feed in his message, especially if you want a god who's not really involved. And finally, I think it's important to talk about where he lives. So Dracos lives in hell. He doesn't live in the astral sea with all the other gods, and he doesn't have an afterlife besides hell. Hell is everything to him, and that is why he cares so much and so deeply, as many demons do. They're very patriotic. They love their home. They believe that demonkind is the best kind. Is that the same for you? Do you have an own afterlife where he lives? And is hell even an afterlife? Or is your god of death and the afterlives actually just a presider of the astral sea? The point is, the fun part of gods is being a bit creative with it. Being unique and adding different things that you haven't even thought of before. And that's what I did, and I really enjoyed that. And just kind of sitting down and starting from that top level approach, starting, okay, first, Pantheon. How does he interact with other gods? How does the cults work? How does that feed into the wider story? Cool, got that. Next, who does he trust? Who works under him? Does he associate with other demons? Okay, we're building out now his right-hand men, possible people for lower level parties to interact with or feed into the story if I don't want to do the god himself, but also who else is existing in this world, and then you can start to build out your demon kind. And then finally, where does he live? What is he the god of? Do you have a hell? Is it cold like Nilfheim in God of War? Is it boiling hot like mine? Is it even just the astral sea and lost souls are wandering around kind of trying to create? And through all of these things and working out where he lives, you can then build your story, but also his goals, his motivations. Like, his goal is to invade the overworld because he sees the overworld as broken, as lost. And that's a really big part of his character and something that he really intrinsically values. So he is working towards that. Now you can come up with your own goal that fits into your own story and how that works, which is what I've done as well. So I hope that was all really useful for you, or useful in the slightest. I'd love to know if it was, if it's posed some interesting questions. I can't tell you how to world build, but I can give you some guidance, and I hope that kind of top level approach is maybe something you haven't thought of. It helps you kind of explore the wider pantheon, or even integrate a god of hell into your own campaign. If it has, please do let me know. I'd love to hear about your stories, or even if you disagree and you think there's another way you can go, I'd also love to hear that too. If you have any other feedback, both constructive and positive, please do put it down in the comments. And if you did enjoy, please do share that video, share it, and like that video, because all of that interaction really helps. And if you want to see more Exploring Wexveres, make sure you're subscribed, otherwise you may miss an episode. But these are going to start coming out a little bit more regularly, hopefully. But yes, so the next Exploring Wexveres, excitingly, is Planar Customs, which the party have just been going through, and how my planar system works, and how yours can work too, and some options for that. So I hope you look forward to that, and otherwise, have a lovely week. Thank you all for your time, and remember, it's your world.